Live by Live has all of your favorite music, and you can listen for free. Whether you hit play on one of our hundreds of curated music stations or create your own custom artist radio station, you'll find the music you love on Live by Live. Visit livexlive.com or search LiveX Live in the App Store or Google Play and listen for free now.
Darkcast Network. The light shines brightest on our indie podcasts.
Hi, this is Jenna.
And this is Kelly.
And you're listening to ODFM.
This episode is one defection from murder. A defector. So since we're dealing with a world power that is shitty and attempting to...
I was waiting to see what descriptor you were going to use.
Yes, pretty much just shitty. And attempt to become the USSR again and taking over poor Ukraine. I thought it might be interesting to revisit the history of oppressive regimes and the Iron Curtain with a story from the 70s in Europe.
I didn't know we were going political. All right.
A little bit.
Also, are you purposely wearing what looks like yellow and blue?
I'm not, but it works.
It works.
We stand with you, Ukraine. Yeah. So, this kind of deals with the same regime. So, a little bit. Yeah, so we're going to the 70s.
I'm really bad with history, so this will be all new information for me.
Yes, perfect. Good. It was for me as well. So
It's all new.
Especially, I'm terrible with geography. So for me, this was like,
yes.
Okay, now I understand a little more. But so it's September 7th of 1978. It's during the Cold War.
Okay.
So because it lasted forever, it felt like. I remember it as a kid. But
the Cold War?
Yeah.
I only remember it from a Netflix special
that
I saw a couple of years ago.
Did you have to hide? We would have the drills where you'd have to hide under your desk and they'd black out the windows. Like that's going to help you if a nuke goes off.
Right.
But.
Right. That desk.
The desk is
the metal bottom and the plywood top with the that's gonna.
Yep, it's gonna save you from tornadoes, from bombs, from radiation. They're amazing.
That desk. Okay.
So it's during the Cold War.
Okay.
Georgi Markov, although he's Bulgarian, so his name in Bulgarian was like Georgi or something.
Oh.
Georgi, something that sounded way better than Georgi, but he was referred to as Georgi Markov throughout stuff. So that's easier. He's a Bulgarian expatriate now living in London.
Okay.
And he's heading to work on his usual route he takes every day. So he goes and parks his car, crosses Waterloo Bridge to work.
Okay.
Or no, to wait for a bus. So he must they must have like park and rides.
Gotcha. So he's got to drive to get to the bus to get to work. Okay.
Parks his car, waits at the bus. He's waiting with a few others at the bus stop when he feels something sting his leg. And he's like, what the hell is that? So he turns around and he sees a man like, sorry. And he picks up an umbrella and runs off and jumps in a taxi. And so he doesn't think much about it. His leg kind of hurts. He's like, what the hell is that? That's weird.
Like an umbrella scrape? What did he think it was?
Like a guy just poked him and he's like, oh, God, that guy fell into me or something.
That's weird. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So the next night on September 8th, Georgi checks himself into the hospital at about 9 p.m. And he's pretty sick with a fever.
Oh.
And he's beyond desperate for help. He's like, something horrible is happening and I know it. And doctors and nurses who are going off shift are taking in the next shift around to see patients. And they're all behind curtains. And they're like, okay, this one's cardiac arrest. This one has pneumonia. Oh, and this guy, wait till you hear his story. So he says he's been poisoned by the Bulgarian government. And they're like, look at this weirdo.
Oh, shit.
Even though doctors didn't exactly believe Georgi's story, they did their due diligence and took every detail down in notes. So,
good thing, huh?
Yeah. So Georgi comes in and he's like, you guys, I've defected from Bulgaria and now I work for the BBC. He told them he had some big players in the Bulgarian government that are after him. And he's like, I've been receiving threats that the KGB have been sent out to assassinate me. And he believes he's somehow been poisoned by something that was shot into his leg.
What?
I know. And doctors are like, yeah, this guy's cuckoo for coconuts. What?
Okay.
And they're like, yeah, maybe he's having a mental breakdown or maybe he's actually insane. So they do a physical exam and they're like, yeah, doesn't really look like the symptoms that match, claiming that you're poisoned. He's conscious. He's a bit feverish, but he's okay. And he points to a tiny mark on his right thigh that's swollen and red. And he's like, this is where I was poked. I'm pretty sure I was injected with something right here. And he's frantically trying to convince them that he was injected with something and please find it and please get it out and save me, type of thing. He's just frantic.
And they're probably like, it could have been a sting.
Exactly.
Spider bite.
Yep. Oh my God. That's exactly what they said.
Like, that's a lot more likely. Like, I'd put my money on that first.
Totally. And that's exactly what they said. They're like, it could be an insect sting, a spider bite, allergic reaction to something. It could have even been that like he's standing there, he backs into something metal, and pokes himself.
Yes.
At the bus stop.
Yes. What, that movie, The Day After Tomorrow, is that what it was? Where all the weather changes with Jake Gyllenhaal and all that? Okay, I love that movie. I watch it whenever it goes on. There was the girl, Emmy Rossum or whatever, her character almost died because when they were walking, she accidentally cut her leg.
That's right. And the metal, infected.
And the metal, and she got infected and all that. Yep. Okay, so obviously, this is completely legit.
Right.
It happened in a movie. Like
we believe anything that's on the internet or in a movie.
Right.
It's totally legit.
Fact checking. Done.
Yes, done. We checked it. It is true because it was in a movie. So they clearly think, okay, Georgie's overreacting. He's probably a little bit, has some mental issues going on.
Are you stressed? Are you feeling stressed?
Is work okay?
Exactly.
Is everything okay? So even Georgie's friends aren't really buying his story. So his friends describe him as larger than life, a guy who likes to joke around and boast a lot about things.
Okay.
Like he would claim he could snatch a fly out of midair.
Well, then why couldn't he
like
catch
Mr.
the spider?
Miyagi, right?
If you're so awesome, how did you get stung, yo?
How'd you get stung when you were looking?
I know.
He also told his friends that he had played soccer for the Bulgarian Olympic team or some other highly prestigious team for Bulgaria. And he joked around enough and embellished enough that friends aren't totally on board with this poisoning tales.
Gotcha.
One friend, though, he's like, I did listen to him all his little boasts and stuff. And one time I did see him snatch a fly out of the air. So
it could have been a lucky catch. I mean, I've seen my dog do it. I mean, it's not.
I've seen your dog do it.
I have. She has. It's crazy. There was one in our living room, and a couple of times when we've been on walks, like a firefly would go in front of us.
Oh my God.
I'd be like, oh my God, did she get it? Then she'd spit it out. I know. Exactly. Okay. So anything's possible. I'm just saying.
So a little background on Georgi. He spent most of his life in Bulgaria, which at the time was run by a fierce dictatorship run by Todor Zhivkov.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Hold on. Let's back up a little bit. Where exactly is Bulgaria?
Ooh, okay. So in between Bulgaria is Romania, Moldova, and Ukraine. Okay, so it's on the Black Sea.
Okay. And there's mountains. Okay. It's east of Italy. Okay.
Yeah, so it's encompasses the Black Sea coastline. So he grew up in Bulgaria.
Right. Okay, Bulgaria. I feel like I'm connected to him now.
Yes.
I feel like he and I are like, maybe we're like 18th cousins or something. I don't know.
Probably. And if you back into metal, you'll probably have a bad reaction. So
I'll be careful. We'll keep that in mind.
At the time, Bulgaria is run by this dictator, Todor Zhivkov.
Okay.
President Zhivkov was a diehard communist. Fun.
Yeah.
Yay! And he would not tolerate an ounce of criticism against the regime.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah. I wasn't going to say it, but I was like, I know someone else like that. He had a tight grip of control over Bulgaria and his administration. He had solid ties to the USSR and the KGB. Fun guy. He was loud and boastful. Reminds me a lot of a curtain Russian oligarch as well.
I feel like there's a type. There's a personality type that we're talking about here.
There is. There is. So Georgi Markov, while he's in Bulgaria. He's a writer there. And he became one of the most acclaimed of the country in the 1960s in Bulgaria. Okay. He was so influential that Zhivkov decided, it's probably best to pull him into my inner circle. So, so he pulls Georgi into his inner circle so that any writing he did could be closely monitored and controlled.
Right. We must control the narrative.
Let's control the narrative, yes. So Georgi was invited by the president on hunting weekends along with him and other leading intellectuals.
Oh, my. Okay.
Got to know him well. And Georgi was being treated to a pretty great life within the regime until he began speaking out against the oppression he was seeing.
Oh, you're not allowed to do that.
Yeah. But he was like, this is bullshit. I'm going to speak up. I'm going to start writing about this.
Was he doing that and then still trying to go on hunting weekends and just be like, buddy? Okay, because that's uncomfortable.
So. That would be really, I've been saying some shit about you, man, but I really want to go on this hunting trip. Yeah. I don't think so. I think he'd started to see what was happening. He was like,
and suddenly was, this isn't a good weekend for me.
I've got some writing to do.
I got some.
I'm going to have to tell you a little thing about that. Yeah. So in 1969, the Bulgarian authorities decide George's writing needs to be censored. So they ban his books. They ban anyone from reading his books.
Oh, boy. That just makes you more popular.
It does. It makes you want to read the freaking books.
Yeah. Why don't you want me to read that? What's in there?
Yeah. What shouldn't I know? Is there something I shouldn't know?
Porn.
So they closed his offices. Porn. Pretty much.
Sorry.
So they closed his offices, and Georgi decided, it might be time to leave. So he defects to England. Okay. So he leaves the country. And he found sanctuary in London and got work as a translator at the BBC. So it's not like he's just a fly on the wall. He's pretty high up still. And he also found love when he moved to London. He married Anna Dilke in 1975, and the couple soon had a daughter. Life seems like it's on a good path. He's got a good job, still writing, kind of journalism type stuff.
Not being censored. It's all
Not being censored, absolutely. So after 1969, Georgi's name ceased to exist in Bulgaria. So it's like, this man is done. He's dead to us. Fuck off.
How do you,
his family's still there and stuff. So not only were all of his books removed from all the shelves and libraries there, but his name was even scratched out of film credits for scripts he had written.
Are you serious?
I mean,
did they at least take white out and try to make it look like it really wasn't there, or did they just take like a red pen?
This asshole, you are out of here.
It's like when you try to cut your old boyfriend out of your picture. You're like,
and it's like scratched off.
But I looked so good in this one. I'm just going to cut him out. I'm just going to. And
he's out.
There's a body-shaped cut around the.
I love that. But Georgi, not one to stay quiet, he continues to speak out about the oppressive Bulgarian regime.
Oh dear.
In addition to working for the BBC, Georgi also wrote scripts criticizing Zhivkov for Radio Free Europe, which is actually an American radio station. Yeah. And I know I've listened to it, a couple times.
Oh, boy.
So he mocked Zhivkov, calling him, quote, minor dictator with a second-rate sense of humor.
Oh, shit.
Bam!
Well, and the thing is he's not just someone writing about it. Like,
he was someone that was close.
Oh, shit. I mean... Oh, God. Okay.
So he was bringing out, and apparently Zhivkov wasn't all that smart, and he was bringing that to the surface, like proving it to the public.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, and despite Bulgaria trying to jam the signal, half of Bulgaria was still able to tune into the show. So
I'm having flashbacks of, oh, God, who was it? Who was our vice president who thought the potato ended with an E?
Oh, God, he was with Bush.
Oh, my God. Why can't I think of his name?
Starts with a D, doesn't it?
Google.
Well, now we got to look it up. Dan Quayle, wasn't it?
That's it. Yes. I kept wanting to say Dick Cheney, and I'm like, that's not him. It's a different D. Dan
I'm pretty
Quayle.
Sure. That's right.
I'm sure it was. And
Tomato
I was like,
and potato. You can add it.
I mean, I do know when he was doing that, I was like, it made me stop. I'm a bad speller. So it made me stop for a second and go, does it end with
Does
an E?
it?
And I stopped for a second, and I felt really bad. And then I thought, yeah, but I'm not the vice freaking president.
True.
And I'm not schooling somebody else on it.
True.
So I'm like,
absolutely. So I'm going to judge.
Yeah.
So I'm feeling judgy.
I can judge you. Right. I want someone smarter than me in that position, okay?
Oh, for reals. Can we please? Let's make sure someone smart is always in the positions of government. But this guy wasn't. So Georgi's depiction of Zhivkov in a demeaning but accurate way without having any censoring made Zhivkov boil with rage.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure that didn't go over
And
well.
Georgi was deemed enemy of the state, which is like big time. It's no joke.
And a Will movie. A Will.
It is. Will Smith.
Thank you. Yes. Enemy of the state. Okay. So that's serious shit. They made a movie about that. Okay.
Yes. It's not. It's no joke. That means you're a target. Soon, Georgi was getting anonymous phone calls telling him his treason would not go unpunished.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So they'd call and say, you're a target. You're going to be poisoned. There's even a file box of poison in it marked with your name on it.
They file that shit?
Apparently, they must have had a lot of targets. So they're like, okay, this box, we go from A to Z. Holy shit.
I would have moved by then.
I mean, he's like, I think I'm safe. I'm in London. You know, I'm pretty far away. But
they found his phone number?
Yeah, they're tracking him down.
Yeah.
So Georgi did tell his wife and friends about it, but because of his history of exaggeration, they didn't take it too seriously. So they're like, it's just Georgi. Haha, he's probably joking around. So when we come back from the break, we'll find out what happened to Georgi in the hospital.
Oh, shit. It wasn't a spider, was it? Was it a poisoned spider? And it was actually like one of those little AI little...
like in the movies.
Yes.
We are Wendy and Beth, and we host the podcast Fruit Loop Serial Killers of Color. Tell the people about the show, Wendy.
Well, happy to. As you might have guessed by now, our show focuses on serial killers of color. We decided to make this the focus of our show because most of the podcasts that we listen to focused on whole white serial killers, also male, cisgender, hetero serial killers. And we thought the space could use a little spice, a little diversity.
Yeah, and we believe that the victim stories are important. Many of the victims are also BIPOC folks, and the media just doesn't focus on these people.
We also get plenty of opportunities to discuss race relations, systemic oppression, policing, history, and culture. We learn something new every day, and we hope that you do too.
Join us as we tell the fascinating stories of these crimes that often go untold by the mainstream media. Subscribe or download Fruit Loop Serial Killers of Color now on iTunes, Spotify, Podbean, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Look alive, y'all. It's crazy out there.
Georgi's still in the hospital 2 days after he first fell ill, and his friend David comes to visit him there. So Georgi's now in intensive care, and he's shocked.
Well, they better figure out what the hell bit him. I mean...
Yeah. Biting umbrella.
Damn.
When he touches Georgi's hand, he's ice cold. And I mean, it's like, as soon as he gets there, he starts going into cardiac arrest. So...
What?
The doctors, they can't come up with a diagnosis. Georgi was fading fast. His symptoms were too complex to be a single infection. So it's clear he had severe septic shock. He was full body sepsis. Oh, they had given him a wide range of meds that cover the whole wide spectrum of bacteria that would be causing this.
Shit.
But medicine had no effect. So one doctor's like, okay, it has to be something like snake venom.
Oh my God.
Or something that we don't know of. Because his body's not responding to any treatments.
Radioactive spider.
Radioactive spiders. Ball of lightning. I don't know.
Did they check his wrists to see if webs were being formed?
Ooh. No. He's not becoming Spider-Man.
If they threw him up on the ceiling, did he stick?
I don't know if they tried that. They were like, are you pasta? Are you Spider-Man? Right, I don't know.
Amazing pasta man.
Would you like some marinara with that?
Watch out, Marvel. I'm coming for you with my ideas.
Pasta man.
Okay.
He spins noodles.
He sticks to the wall when he's done.
Hard as a rock before him.
Oh my God. Okay.
Oh, that's awesome.
Very bad place. Okay,
yes, we did. So eventually, Georgi developed an irregular heartbeat, and he went into full cardiac arrest. And on September 11th of 1978 at 10:40 a.m., he was pronounced dead.
And this happened the 7th? So it took like 4 days?
So it happened the 7th. 8th, he checked himself in the hospital. Within 2 more days, he was dead. So
that was some pretty quick acting something. And
Yeah.
they didn't find it.
They tested his blood. His blood was fine. They're like, we don't see anything weird. When the doctors called police with Georgie's story and tell him, he says he was a defector, they're far more interested in his story than doctors had been.
Well, I wish the doctors would have gotten their shit together.
That would have been nice if they told them right away. So Scotland Yard's terrorist branch immediately launched an investigation because they know more than we do about shit that's going on.
Right.
So people who had been at the bus stop at the same time as Georgie during when he thought he was poked were tracked down, and none remembers seeing anything weird happen or seeing a man with an umbrella. But a taxi driver did say he had driven away with a rider at that time, but he didn't remember an umbrella and couldn't even remember if it was a man or a woman. Or
that's probably such a small part of his day.
Right. It's like, I do that every day. What's weird?
Yeah.
But Georgie's wife, Anna, went on the news saying that Georgie had been certain he'd been jabbed with a poisoned end of an umbrella, and she herself had seen the mark on his leg, and she said, it totally looked like a needle puncture. Like
it's like Mission Impossible or
totally
Austin
James
Powers.
Bond, Austin Powers. That's our version. This is probably more James Bond, but we make it into the Austin Powers version. So an autopsy is ordered, and whatever killed him hadn't left traces in his bloodstream.
Really?
Yeah, isn't that weird? You would think something.
Yeah.
But on the side of the body the puncture's on, the lymph glands in the groin were swollen, indicating his body was fighting something powerful, and that it had been near that spot that it had been happened. Oh, and his major organs showed significant damage. They had all hemorrhaged, bled out. Yeah. So they were like, woo, something's in this. It's not just a heart attack for sure. To avoid damaging anything that might still be in the tiny puncture wound, specialists were brought in to examine the tissues in and around the area.
Okay.
Which is kind of cool. So they chose a research facility called Porton Down. They sound
okay.
so...
Yes.
Porton Down.
Yes, we're going to be there.
We're going to Porton Down. Yes.
I apologize to all of our British listeners.
For our bad...
Yeah, that was terrible. But no disrespect. We just suck. Okay.
We are not shishi in the least. So this Porton Down is the top-notch medical research company for biomedical weapons during the Cold War.
Okay.
Experts from around the world were brought in for the examination. Even a CIA chemical weapons specialist from the U.S. was brought in.
For a bug bite?
For whatever this was.
A stick from an umbrella. Okay.
Yeah, I think they must have known something more than we know at this time.
Yeah.
So sections of the tissue from that wound area were sliced super thin, like one little tissue at a time to put on slides. And the knife blade struck something that's metal. So at first they're like, okay, it's probably the tip of a needle. So tiny you can't see it with eyes. They're like, okay, tip of the needle's in here. He might be right. But when they pulled at it, instead of a needle, a teeny tiny ball bearing rolls out. Yeah. It's like a teeny tiny ball. And it's so small, it looked like the little ball that's at the end of a ballpoint pen. Like that teeny.
Oh.
So, but when they examined it, the ball was even smaller than those that could fit in a ballpoint pen. I mean, this is like so many itty bitty.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
I know. So I can't believe they even found it. So they brought the pellet to a ballistics lab to see if they could get anything from it. And nobody had seen anything like it before. When Porton Down had examined and cleaned it, they found no traces of poison in it. But they're hoping the ballistics lab could figure out what it's made from and get pictures of it from an electron microscope. Because it's so tiny, they have to use a microscope to get photos of it.
Oh my God. Okay.
I know. So they found out the pellet's made from platinum iridium, which sounds terrible, but it's not. It's actually an inert alloy.
Okay.
Probably used as a projectile because the body won't reject it. So almost like a bullet.
Okay.
But it's this teeny tiny pin. There's 2 microscopic holes in the pellet, and the pellet itself is harmless, so it's obviously not what killed Georgie. But whatever had been in the holes was likely the culprit because it almost created like a little well inside of the ball.
That must have been some pretty powerful shit, right?
Exactly. So the holes, they created this reservoir, which probably filled the toxin, and they theorized that the pellet was probably filled or covered with a gelatinous coating to keep the poison in. And then when fired, it would rip through the clothing and flesh, and the body heat would melt the gel coating and release the toxin into the bloodstream. I mean, this shit is amazing.
Holy crap.
I know. It's such like spy.
Oh my God.
KGB.
Yeah, seriously.
But like you said, the poison's still a mystery because they're like, what could be that strong that it takes that little to kill someone?
Yeah.
So just when they lose hope of figuring it out, because they're like, we have no clue what this could even be, there's an unexpected breakthrough. So when Vladimir Kostov heard about Georgi's death in the news, he called Scotland Yard. A similar attack had happened to him in Paris just 2 weeks before Georgi's incident.
Whoa. And it happened to him?
Yes, to this guy. He lived. So Vladimir Koskov, he's also a Bulgarian defector. He had been exiting the metro in Paris, and he felt something sting him in the back. Oh. And he's like, what the hell's that? He turned around and he just saw some guy running away. So he thought, well, that's weird. Maybe, the guy poked me or something. But he never spotted an umbrella or anything. But shortly after, he became ill with the exact same symptoms as Georgi. So he'd gone to the hospital with a raging temperature, tons of pain. Fortunately, he recovered a couple days later. And he, too, had gotten anonymous death threats prior to the attempt on his life.
So it wasn't that those doctors figured anything out better than Georgi's doctors. He just kind of got lucky, I think. Handled it better. His body fought it off better or something.
Kind of. So that's what they wanted to find out. So they did a small operation on the spot that he said that it happened on. Yeah. And they retrieved an exact same replica of the ball.
Oh my God.
Yes. Okay. That was in Georgi. And they're hoping, okay, maybe it still has some residue of poison so we could find out what this is.
Yeah.
So when the tissue's retrieved, no poison was left inside the pellet still. But they believed he survived because that day he was wearing a super heavy sweater on the day of the attack. And they thought the pellet likely didn't penetrate as deeply as it had in Georgi, so not as much was released directly into the bloodstream. So it didn't quite go deep enough to get into the full bloodstream.
So when your mother tells you to wear a jacket or a sweater for your own good and your health, it might not just be because of the weather. It could be because someone's trying to shoot you with a poison dart.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
You never know. Bulgarian, guy is after you and you never know.
Don't argue with her. Take the damn sweater.
So yeah, to try to determine, that was my
mix.
Yeah.
It's the remix.
To try to... Okay, to try to determine the type of poison that had been used, they decided to find out how much poison the pellets could hold. And with that, they could at least narrow down the type that had a possibility of being used in the attacks.
I feel like they're grasping at straws here.
Right. It's interesting how dedicated they are to figuring this out, but they must be afraid of what technology's out there. And they probably were like, okay, we need to know what this side has in case we need to fight against this.
Are there that many possibilities that they're like, well, we're going to have to narrow it down? Like, I feel like you're freaking me out now.
Definitely not arsenic, so.
Right? Okay.
The pellet could hold just 0.2 of a milligram of poison. That's 10 times smaller than a lethal dose of cyanide. So, I mean, like you said, it had to be something so powerful.
Super tiny.
Yeah. So it would have to be something along the lines of plutonium, abrin, ricin, some snake venoms, and even purified botulinum. Ugh.
Wait, plutonium, isn't that
used Back to the Future?
Right? I'm like, that's the only other reference to that I've ever had.
Back to the Future, that's what I thought of first too.
And I remember how hard it was to get that.
It was so hard to get it. And all of these are like that. Yes. Except for the snake venom probably is easier than the others. But
well, shit, he should have been a little more careful when he was putting it into the flux capacitor, because if just that much takes
that much could have killed him. Yes.
Shit. I don't know if they knew what they were dealing with.
I don't think they knew at that time.
There's a lot of movie references in this episode.
There are. We're on it today. We just couldn't remember half of the names of them, but that's okay. So a little bit about the toxins. Ricin and abrin can kill in microscopic amounts. Since abrin is extremely rare, ricin seemed more likely the culprit. So abrin, I was reading a little bit about it. It's made from some pea protein, not PEE, but PEA, like little peas that you eat. And I know certain ones of them, like the plant itself is toxic.
Really?
Not the pods. Isn't that crazy? So
that is crazy.
One
more reason why I'm not going to eat peas.
I'm not eating peas anymore.
Right.
Because the plant is toxic.
Exactly. See?
Yeah. So for ricin, the swollen glands and hemorrhaging organs fit perfectly with the ricin poisoning. Ricin is natural in a number of plants, which I thought
good. I like my poisons to be organic.
Of course. You don't want any man-made shit in that.
I always go to Whole Foods for my
for my poisons.
I want to make sure that I don't want anything unnatural in there.
No, we want pure poison. Thank you very much.
While I'm trying to poison people, I want to make sure it's all organic. And
we wouldn't want to cause more damage to the earth than we already are.
Exactly. I'm trying to get rid of the person, not the earth. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. I get Okay. So, but it's especially strong in the castor bean. So castor oil is safe, but when the molecule itself is purified, it's one of the strongest toxins known to man. So
holy shit.
I know. So ricin has a neurotoxic effect as it can seek out and destroy active nerve cells. That would be amazing. Nerds.
We're just going to take out all the nerds.
No.
Also a movie, Revenge of the Nerds.
Nerds. So it's going to destroy and attack active nerve cells like those in the heart, causing severe damage and hemorrhaging.
That's a problem.
So what else did I read about ricin?
Doesn't sound very natural.
No, it doesn't. But they were saying it's really, really tough to make. So not just any country is going to have that.
Okay.
And to see if their ricin theory is correct, the team's like, we got to test it.
On who?
Yeah. So they get to test a small dose on an animal subject.
Oh, at least it wasn't Mikey from the Life cereal commercials. Cause
he would eat anything. Ricin, sure.
Right.
So they said that was the only way to come to a definite conclusion. So they got a pig, same way as Georgie.
Wow, that's kind of insulting. No, that's insulting. That's
Georgie, you
insulting.
pig.
Right. We're going to compare you to this pig.
I know.
Shit. Ouch.
I know. Ouch. Poor Georgie. Well, poor pig. I don't know. I feel bad for all of them.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree.
They inject it with the same amount the pellet would hold, and the pig had identical symptoms, died exactly the same way, and in the autopsy had identical results. So they conclude it's definitely...
And that pig hadn't gone public with any of his feelings about Bulgaria.
He didn't. So unfair. He was a nice little pig, big pig.
Wow.
Yep. But yeah, Georgie's death was indeed a ricin poisoning. So now they're like, okay, so where did it come from? Bulgaria itself isn't capable of manufacturing this level of toxin. So they must have had help from a political ally far more experienced with technology like the KGB in the Soviet Union. So for many years, it had been known that Soviet labs were doing specific research on aberrin and ricin. And it was even in public literature and classified books. It had shown that the KGB labs were the labs associated with chemical and biological warfare research. And this is in the 70s they had this. So,
jeez, okay.
So at the time of Georgie's murder, the Soviets had a large biochemical weapons program. Fun. Especially this next part. This really kind of freaked me out because I'm like, great, that means they still have this.
Oh, God.
They had intercontinental missiles filled with weapons-grade smallpox.
Ah!
So they're certainly capable of developing high-concentration ricin for poisoning. So if they have smallpox, like I was thinking back, I don't think I've gotten a smallpox vaccine because it's been eradicated for so many years.
Right? Oh.
Right? So...
Oh, God. Okay.
The thought that they have all that shit right now is very disturbing.
Yes.
The deployment system of using an umbrella is classic KGB, apparently.
According to the movies, yes.
Right, yes. They know that assassinations are best done quietly and in an unnoticeable way. So they wanted something the target would believe had just been an accident, like, oops, bumped you, but really injected you with poison. Right.
They don't send like Boba Fett as a bounty hunter to go and take you out, or
they don't make it too obvious. Yeah. So.
Right. They don't send the Punisher. You know, it
could be more exciting, but no, they don't do that. They like it quiet. Mm-hmm. They figured that he totally would have been ruled a heart attack had he not spoken up so much in the hospital.
Really?
They would have thought he just had a heart attack. And so so thank goodness he was really pushing, like, you guys, I know this is what happened.
Cow. Well, what about the other guy? How come the other guy was all right?
Just because I think he didn't get as big of a dose. That
that's
didn't
right.
go
He wore a
straight to
sweater.
his blood.
That's right.
He had his thick
he
sweater.
listened to his mother. That's right.
Yes, he listened to his mom.
Yeah.
So this is cool. We can't leave Florida out of the story. So in Florida,
of course not.
There's a researcher in Florida who has amassed a large collection of KGB spy equipment.
That's an interesting collection. Of course,
it's so cool looking. I was like, I need to go see this. So they interviewed this guy on this documentary, and oh my God, he had the coolest stuff. But yeah, he had all this spy equipment, specifically from what was known as Lab 12 in the Soviet Union, which was a secret lab in a small building with no more than 6 employees.
Oh, jeez.
And it was distinctly for bioweapons research and testing. And he had a bunch of this gear. I know.
Oh, shit.
The KGB had developed a number of assassination tools like pens, lighters, canes, and an umbrella gun. And this guy had them all.
This is totally like Mission Impossible shit.
So I was like, this is so cool. Wow. I was nerding out. The umbrella was a normal umbrella, but with modifications. So the button you normally use to open the umbrella was actually the trigger for this.
You have got to be careful with that because I would have hit that by accident.
I totally would have accidentally.
Whoops.
Whoops.
The dog,
Do we have any more ricin? Do we have another one of those?
Dude, did you accidentally shoot it again? I did.
I did. Can we get another pellet? Can I? So you pull the trigger and gas stored in the cylinder of the umbrella pole was then injected through and would force a tiny pellet out the tip of the umbrella with a ton of force, like a gun.
Holy cow.
I know. Pretty amazing. So the Bulgarians likely used something from the KGB, as they didn't have their own arsenal like that. But proof of the attack was deep behind the Iron Curtain of the Bulgarian regime. So it was really hard to get. But by 1979, Georgi's murder investigation had ground to a halt. So for 10 years, it stayed that way. They couldn't figure out anything more. They really wanted to find out if Bulgaria was behind it. But let's see, then came the collapse of the Berlin Wall in 1990. Okay. Riots began around Bulgaria, and their president was arrested on the grounds of corruption. So that's that Zhivkov dude.
Okay, yeah.
So with the dictator removed, Bulgaria took steps towards democracy, and the Bulgarian Secret Service archives were now accessible. So after the fall of the Soviet Union, a former KGB agent said he had been at the meeting where Georgi's assassination had been planned. And he said the request had come directly from Bulgaria's president, Todor Zhivkov.
That's what you get for hunting with the guy.
That's right. Don't trust man. So Zhivkov was released from house arrest after he'd been, in jail for a little while. And he gave a press conference. He was such a pompous ass, I have to say. And he's old at this time. But when asked about the murder of Georgi, Zhivkov didn't deny he had him killed, but instead made a joke about it on the press conference in the news.
What?
Just like, I've never seen an umbrella, like joking about it. Didn't deny anything.
Wow.
Just being a dick.
Wow.
But shortly after, he died of pneumonia. So, good on that.
So, karma.
Yeah, karma came after that bitch. So in 1991.
Oh, God.
So yeah, this is a history lesson. In 1991, the new Bulgarian government began its own investigation into Georgi's case. And the policeman assigned to the case was given access to the secret archives, which would be so amazing to read.
Yeah.
And he did find proof that Georgi had been a target of the Secret Service. And there were clues on how they planned to go about it. And one document stated that there were plans for him to be neutralized. But
I thought you were going to say neutered.
We need to have him neutered. We do not want spreads, little Georgies running around.
Oh, God. We need to have him neutered.
But the actual documents that contained the plans had been destroyed because a former head of the state in the Soviet Union had been the one that destroyed the evidence, admitted to it, because the Russians didn't want to be linked to anything.
Ah, yes.
Yes. Like, that wasn't us. No.
Mm-hmm.
But investigators badly wanted to find the actual assassin, which is kind of like, but, it's a hit. Was it really him?
Right.
But their dogged determination finally came upon something that blew the case wide open. One of the investigators found the name of a person working for the Bulgarian Secret Service that had been assigned to deal with, and he had been assigned to deal with Georgi. He was based in Denmark. Oh. So this is the guy that was going to neuter Georgie.
Neuter him. Yes, right.
Neutralize him.
Neuter him with an umbrella.
Oh, this is good. The document said the agent's code name was Piccadilly. Kind of like that one guy was Banana or whatever his name was. Or, yeah, Piccadilly.
Oh, God. Okay.
He'd been given instructions on exactly how to kill Georgie. The man, known as Galeno, is his real name, posed as an art dealer traveling around. He had made several trips to London, stayed close to where Georgie lived, and they were able to track down a man the man, where he's brought in for questioning. And in 1993, investigators from Bulgaria, Denmark, Britain, they all secretly interrogate this guy.
Oh, my.
I know. And despite the evidence against him, all he would admit to was espionage, and he claimed no connection to Georgie. I don't know why he was afraid of that, probably because he'd get murder conviction. So,
oh, okay. All right.
They released him, and he quickly moved out of Denmark and was never seen again.
Shocker.
Mm-hmm.
Big shocker.
So in Britain, the case is still considered open since it hasn't named a specific person responsible for his death. And the Bulgarians, they weren't in a huge rush to solve the case because they didn't want to be named a part of it. And in 2008, the statute of limitations for the case would run out. So they're like, let's just kind of let that go away. So even if the suspect was found, he couldn't be tried in a Bulgarian court because the statute ran out. So, and at that time, they were trying to become a part of the EU, and they didn't want any bad press. So many felt Bulgaria should publicly claim their responsibility in the assassination. And Georgie's family aren't concerned about finding the trigger man, of course. They just want a freaking apology from the government. They're like...
Yeah, sure.
One family member put it perfectly. The finger that pulled the trigger isn't important, but the mind that thought it up is.
Oh, very well stated.
Snap.
Right.
So that's the story of the man who got shot by an umbrella and poisoned to death for defecting from a company.
By an umbrella.
Isn't that crazy? I was just like, how does it? That's such a wild story that, of course, nobody believed him, but he was like,
crazy.
I know this is what happened.
Oh my God, that's insane. Yeah, I probably wouldn't have believed him either.
No.
So.
And I don't know that they could have done anything had they known right away anyway.
You have to do your due diligence. You have to wear a sweater.
Very thick, please.
Maybe
thick. Several layers.
Right. Layering is important.
It is. Did you want to hear my sources?
I am dying to hear these sources.
Oh, you'll have to watch the documentary. It was really good. It was from like the 90s, so it was old, but it was good. So there's theguardian.com, abc.net, and the documentary The Umbrella Assassin, Killing Georgi Markov.
The Umbrella Assassin.
I know. Isn't that crazy?
It's still better than The World's a Stage.
True. That one made no sense. But it was really good. Yeah. I don't know. It was a lot of details, but I felt like I couldn't leave some stuff out. Sense, but
no, that was good.
The ricin and stuff freaked me the fuck out. And the thought of what they probably have now.
I don't want to think about that. Nope. Mm-mm. I have to be able to sleep tonight.
I know.
Oh my God.
They had the missiles that could get here back then with that kind of shit.
Oh God. Okay.
Yeah. Let's be a little bit afraid of Russia and let's not get them away. Let them do shit.
Yeah. No, oh my gosh. Okay. That was a great story. That was totally different than anything we've done before. So that's awesome.
It's really weird.
And yet you still found a way to tie it to Florida.
I still found Florida in there.
I did not see that coming.
I know. When that little tidbit came out, I was like, oh, Florida, yes. Florida. Yay.
There's our Florida connection.
We're over in Europe, but still, yet there's one little Florida thing.
There's always a way to tie it together.
There is. Oh, so Anonymous is doing something very cool that I think our listeners should do because it's going to help Ukraine if we can. And I did this a little bit. So on Twitter, on Anonymous's Twitter, the group, the hack group, they have set up a way that, so they have the link on there. You click on the link, you can send messages to Russian cell phones of people that live there, and they've got it all translated. The message says something like, pay attention, you don't know what's happening, but Russia is attacking the Ukraine. Don't, stand up against this president. Stuff like that, because, they're getting a totally false narrative there.
Right.
So, and it even spams the phone number it's coming from, so they can't track you.
Oh,
so it's pretty cool. You know, the first day they opened it up, they got over 250,000 messages sent, text messages sent to Russians. Cow. So that's one of the ways that maybe we can get the message to them that they're being lied to. I don't know if they believe it, but you know, it's pretty crazy.
If not, there's always the umbrella.
There's okay. Who's an umbrella maker? Because we're going to need a lot of these. We're going to need you to modify a lot of umbrellas.
I'll go to Whole Foods and look for the organic poison.
Go get some castor beans and start figuring out how to get those out.
Which aisle has your poisons? I'm going to need something strong.
But I need it very pure and organic. Yes, we like. Do you have any peas?
Jeez.
I can pull some Abrin from. I'm freaking crazy. But
oh my God, that's an awesome story.
Yeah, it's pretty. I figured it kind of went with the times too. After I saw that came up, I was like, oh, goody,
very apropos.
It's very timely to what we're going through. So history repeats itself. Pay attention. Don't let this happen again. Scary.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Hey, Oddies. Thanks for listening to another episode of ODFM. If you're a longtime listener, hey, we cannot thank you enough for your continued support. And if you're a new listener, thanks for giving us a try. If you like us, please drop us a like, subscribe, or rate us so we can share our stories with more people around the world. And if you'd like more information, like links to our podcast and socials, along with our Patreon fan page, those links are all on Linktree under ODFM Podcast. That's linktr.ee/ODFM Podcast. Side note, you guys, we're obsessed with fan art, and we love making things with it, like stickers for our fans. So if you'd like us to use your designs, send it to us at odfmpodcast@gmail.com. And if we use your design, we'll be sure to send you a sticker.
Thanks for listening to another episode of ODFM, hosted by Kelly DeVries and Jenna Swanson. Production and editing by Kelly DeVries. Theme music by Eric Swanson. ODFM is a satirical true crime podcast for entertainment purposes only. The stories you hear are serious and true. The comments and opinions are not. We apologize if any of our content is harmful or disrespectful.